Welcome back to r/Neighbors from Hell, where people share stories about their crazy neighbors, and if you're new to my channel, please don't forget to subscribe to join our amazing community, and without any further ado, let's dive right into the stories. And the first one is titled, Steal My Bin, Ha! Lose Your Home. Background: I live in England and my flat is owned by a housing trust, meaning it is a rented public property, basically a council flat. I moved in last November and the first thing I did was to go and meet my downstairs neighbor. Our flats are an old house converted into flats. We both get a front door and our own front and back gardens. I have the upstairs flat, meaning I get a little downstairs storage space and then a nice upstairs flat and a gate into my back garden. Downstairs flat doesn't have inside storage space, but they get 2 sheds in the back garden and a back door. My flat is directly atop theirs, even though our doors are side by side. Anyway, I move in and go and say hello to my neighbors. I introduce myself and explain that I have TV/music on every hour that I am in. For mental health reasons, I cannot sit in silence, and of course I will try and keep it quiet, but this is a new flat. Noise levels will be different to where I last lived, and if it is too loud, just come bang on my door and I will naturally turn it down. My neighbor, we will call her Charlotte from now on, smiled and nodded and assured me that it is fine. They are a little loud too, and the same goes for if they keep me up. With that done, I head back up to my flat feeling good that my neighbors were nice people. Well, I'm sure I'll be wrong again too. I parked my wheelie bin by the fence that divided our front garden at first, and I had noticed that her bin was full to bursting and wondered if that was a common problem or just because Charlotte had had a massive clean out. That was until I go to put my own bin bags in my wheelie bin and find it full, with the exact same bags that she uses. Not black bin bags, but yellow ones for some reason, very distinctive. I brush it off, fine, annoying but whatever, and move my bin to the bottom end of my garden, by the gate, so it is easier for me to put it out on bin day. This works for a month and then I catch the flu. I put the bins out before it hit me hard, so on bin day and the day after I couldn't go out to put my bin back in my own garden. I get better, go to fetch my bin and find it is in my neighbor's garden, full. And there is no way this could be a simple mistake because my bin is covered in stickers, because I'm a grown-up and I like stickers. Anyone that looked at it would go, oh yeah, that's OP's bin. So I start to plot. First stop, wait till she puts the bin out, drag it back towards my flat and get it back in my garden. The second the bin men are done, because I cannot afford the fine from the council to get a new damn bin. And then for the kicker, I had noticed while hanging out washing in our backyard and rescuing my inside kitty when she fell out of the kitchen window that her back shed is full of bin bags. And it was now spilling over into the garden. Our back garden is steadily filling up with trash, and Charlotte rarely, if ever, puts out her bins, and hers is full to bursting still. Her recycling boxes are overflowing, with dishes in one case for some reason, so it is a pretty easy assumption that she is just tossing her rubbish out into the back garden rather than deal with it. So it begins, the revenge. I'm on the panel for the area where I live, where the residents of this housing agency homes can air complaints and help decide where the money is spent. I bring it up there in a nonchalant, will it stop the cut you promised me of my back garden that is full of rubbish? And then when the conversation moves on, I leave it. I start taking pictures of the back garden, of her front, and forward them to my housing officer, the trash mountain still steadily growing and growing. My housing officer comes around and slips into the back garden through my gate with the premise of examining for the cut and then sends her a warning letter. He later tells me that she claims the trash was there when Charlotte moved in, and since there's no proof on the contrary, they will just come and clear it out. Right, I think, I'm gonna frickin' get this. So I make friends with the family, whose garden borders ours, where a fence panel has blown over, leaving a nice gap. And there I hide and wait. Their kids think I am hilarious because I would sit in one spot in their garden and just stare at my own garden. The adults understood. They had lived in council properties all their lives and entirely understand bad neighbors. And then, after 3 days of sitting there all day and late into the night, I finally get what I want. A quick video of her opening her back door and throwing out rubbish bags, not the neon yellow ones, the black ones that matched the trash pile already there. Jackpot. I snap a few pictures of the pile, thank my new friends and head home to email the video to my housing officer. 2 days go by, I've heard nothing, but that is normal. This is a society of red frickin' tape. I had a feeling it would take a while, but I was feeling gleeful already. A week goes by, another, and suddenly we are in February, and I am starting to think that maybe nothing is gonna happen. Until I get woken up by banging and clattering downstairs at 10 AM. I grumble and huff and head out to look out my front window, and lo and behold, white van, and they are carrying out furniture. I check my emails and there's one from the housing officer. Thank you for your help. Steps were taken and ignored. Final action is being taken. Or something along those lines. Success. So I made myself a cup of tea and sat on my couch by my front window, gleefully watching them load up the white van. I even give a little wave when they notice me watching them, full on crap-eating grin on my face. Aftermath. The back garden has now been cleaned, flat is now occupied by a lovely girl who I have spoken to on occasion, and given the same explanation of noise, still not heard anything on that, so I guess my noise level is not so bad. And we chat if we are both hanging our washing out at the same time or something. Don't know where Charlotte is gone, but I bet it is private, since if you get kicked from a housing association property, you are not getting another one. Lesson? Don't mess with my bin. And guys, I am kind of wondering if a housing association property is similar to an HOA. In this situation it certainly sounds kind of more positive than an HOA, but who knows, maybe there are also some housing association horror stories out there. In addition, if you are from the UK, please feel free to share some insight on housing association properties in the comments. In addition, if you have watched until here, I would be really happy if you could post some star emojis in the comments and maybe even like the video. Thank you so much in advance. And the next one is titled, That Time the Bully Got Bitten in the Butt. I, female 33 at the time, once had a run-in with a blatant bully. My family owns a business, we come from a lower middle class neighborhood and kept close contact after we moved. Jane, female 93, was in her 70s at the time, was our old neighborhood friend. She was an office worker all her life. She was one of the forever dwellers in our neighborhood. I had a specially close bond with her, but not anymore. Jane worked 40 years at a factory and then got a job at another manufacturing company. After retirement, she got laid off, so she found a job at a dentist's office. Dr. Jake owned 3 dental offices, so he depended on his employees to keep things running while he was not around. Jane worked for him for about 5 years. Jane and the other workers, all females, formed some sort of a clique. They loved her because she was their elderly pal. I would visit Jane on some Saturday afternoons, bring pizza or lasagna, and enjoy how the day ended in my old stomping grounds, just like in the good old days. I left my old neighborhood when I was 16, but I still cherish it. She always talked about her work friends, and sometimes they picked her up for an outing or they would carpool to the supermarket. There was this friend in particular, Nancy, female 60s, she was the one who seemed most friendly with Jane. I would like to add that I never ever had a conversation with any of these women, much less any type of a fight. As their relationship progressed, Jane volunteered lots of info about Nancy's life. She was more or less a lonely female who loved to gossip and was involved in a relationship with a married man. His name was Ed, male, now maybe about 43. Whose wife worked as a receptionist about 3 minutes away from the dental practice. Jane said Nancy was crazy because she liked to stalk her lover's wife and gave him money often, help with a loan monthly payment, help pay for his car, buy him food so that he would come visit, give him 100 here, 80 bucks there, etc. Their friend group was tight, so much that Jane would call them to clock her in. They would do this for each other all the time. My friend, who also knew Jane, kept telling me the office always seemed empty except for the days when the doctor showed up. Jane suddenly lost her job. My mom took her in when our secretary got sick. My mom kept Jane in even after our secretary came back, and for years it was all good. Jane maintained the friendship with Nancy and the girls. Because we worked so closely, I heard Jane tell lots of gossip about Nancy's private life. This seemed odd. Also, she had fits whenever Nancy called her. She would say, "Oh my god, again? So needy." This usually took place, Nancy's insistent calling on lunch breaks, whenever she heard something about Ed's married life. She was devastated to learn his wife was pregnant again, or that he bought the wife a new car, etc. For those wondering, I grew up with Jane having a place in my life, just like an aunt. Jane would usually wait on the sidewalk because Nancy would come to pick her up after work so that they could eat dinner together after work. So basically, I was very loyal and very diehard. Nancy would sometimes wave goodbye at us, but nothing more. There were rumors that the dental office may close down. No crap. Patients must have been switching doctors because office hours were erratic. The remaining days when the doctor was not, it was supposed to be used for scheduling, which wasn't happening. Jane said she never indulged in this, she just saw them do it. Jane's job was simple, never had anything to do with money. She was with us most of the time on the computer, simple as that. Beatrice, our secretary, came to me one day and said she had something to share. She was very worried because of Jane's closeness to our family. Beatrice said she had caught Jane persistently going to our cash box and counting the money. When Jane saw her, she said she had permission to guard the petty cash. Until then, we never had any reason to distrust Jane. Beatrice said she was coming forward because she was scared something might happen and wanted to make sure her name was clear. We were shocked and baffled. It seemed ridiculous, but we still changed the box location. Again it happened, we set up cameras and caught her counting the money about twice a day. She was caught taking bills, crushing them in her fist, and stashing them in her chest on 3 occasions during the same week. We never paid attention because our business is based mostly on electronic transactions, so the cash is left for buying stuff and other small purchases. So in a week she took about $350. This is the price you pay for not having control over each dime. We just left our petty cash lie in a box. We will never know how much she took. We confronted her with the video. She got mad at us and left the job. Obviously, she told everyone else her own version. My mother and I were so astonished, it took us months to assimilate. I'm talking about a woman who was invited to 500% of family events and was handsomely paid at work. We moved on as usual. Some old neighbors would occasionally tell us that Jane complained she was fired for no reason. Beatrice was yelled at the mall by one of Jane's friends because she was the thief but had Jane scapegoated. About 3 years later, my mom went to eat at a seafood restaurant. She's very hardworking and never takes me time. She went to eat but told me she ran into Nancy, who was sitting nearby with some other women. Jane was not there, so Nancy bullied my mom, who was sitting by herself. She cracked jokes, wouldn't stop walking by her table and saying things under her breath. Nancy clicked mean girl mode and cracked jokes. Then they stood up, kind of surrounding her. My mom was intimidated, so she just paid and left. Mom said Nancy yelled something like, "Hey, can I take the heat?" Mom tried to conceal her feelings, but I know she was hurt. Nobody should have to go through this. I was pissed, but Mom begged me to leave it at that. Okay. I was paying for my stuff at a local mom and pop's pharmacy I visit quite often. The pharmacy is on the same street as Nancy's job, our business pretty close to everything. For this reason, it is like the first choice to buy anything. So I was there on a Sunday morning, which I really like because the street is empty. I was talking to a friend on my earphones. I am first in line, already paying, but I heard strange sounds from the line. Because this is not a Walgreens or big box retailer, the pay line is kind of less organized. I keep hearing laughter and a loud voice from the line, and the cashier begins to look uncomfortable. Because I am on my headphones, I am not 100% aware of what whoever is talking is saying. The cashier keeps looking at someone in the line, and the lady 2 spaces away from me says, "We don't need that." I saw Nancy pointing at me. Honestly, I was confused at first, so I tell my friend on the phone to hold on. Nancy is laughing at me, pointing at me. She is telling everyone, "Look, she's crazy, talking to herself." She knows damn right about the existence of earphones. She tries to rally the people on the line by cracking jokes and calling me a dumb witch. I took off my earphones. I was so angry, my arm was tingling. I told Nancy I was not gonna do anything inside the pharmacy because I respect that place, but I know who she is and I will wait for her outside. I gave her the option to repeat and tell me to my face the whole thing she said/did to my mom, since she feels so badass that she is messing with me. Nancy got quiet immediately. I got my crap and told her I would be outside. I waited outside and the witch never came out, so I hopped out of my car. 5 minutes later, she comes out. I think she thought I left, so I drove my car really slow next to her and told her to tell me what the F she said. She kept walking. I yelled at her from my car that she better open her mouth and talk, and she didn't. Nancy went into a bakery nearby. She took a street on foot that had no entrance for me. No problem. I took the next entrance and parked at the bakery. I stood next to her and told her off, and then ordered some food for takeout. I warned her that if she ever saw my mom or anyone in my family, she better cross the street. Oh, and please call your friend in my old neighborhood who put you up to this to see if she can come to help you now. Nancy just kept her head tilted to the side. I left. I called Nancy's boyfriend's wife and told her. I gave her all of Nancy's details and how to get to her house based on Jane's constant gossip. Basically, Nancy lived about 3 blocks away from her job in front of an Adventist church. I told her Nancy's car info. I didn't call as a snitch. I called saying I was Nancy, who suffered from rightful indignation. The woman hung up on me but took my next call again. I called the dentist at his other office. I said I was an inspector to get him to come personally on the phone. Once he did, I told him everything I knew but never gave my name. I called him lazy and incompetent to keep an office and hung up. I do know for a fact that the dentist fired everyone because he closed the office down. My friend who worked nearby said Nancy would stop by every now and then, but he avoided her because she was needy and he didn't want her to latch onto him. She told him her boyfriend dumped her for calling his wife and said she was obsessive and irrational. I don't know much else. I never disclosed my involvement. I saw Nancy at the same pharmacy somewhere around 2015, more or less 10 years later. She is extremely thin and bent over. She did not even see me and I just kept walking. I do see Jane maybe every now and then at the farmer's market, but I don't talk to her. We just act like we don't know each other. And ripe stars, unfortunately we have already reached the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed the content. However, if you cannot wait for more ripe content, then I suggest you head on over to patreon.com/ripeyoutube, where you can find more exclusive Reddit content read by me. Patreon subscriptions start at just $1 per month, and for $1 your name will show up at the end of each of my new videos. However, if you are willing to spend $3 per month, you will get access to more than 50 exclusive Reddit videos, mostly just no mother-in-law stories. However, please understand, I don't want to pressure anyone into spending money, because I am already incredibly grateful that you watch my videos every single day. Thank you so much for your daily support, it really means the world to me, and I hope to see you again tomorrow for the next video.